Good morning, bugs. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. It's Bible. You are going to need your class notes. These pages that look like this, get them. Get some scissors and a stapler or some tape and pause the video while you go get those things, okay? You need these pages, a pair of scissors, and some tape or a stapler, okay? Go get them, pause the video, and we'll talk in a second. So today we're going to use our class notes. Our class notes today are kind of fun. Okay, they're going to be a little more fun than normal. They're going to be a little more interactive. So you have should have 4 pages with these pictures. They're the smaller pictures that we talked about yesterday when we walked through our talking about the Ice Age. So the first thing you need to do is on each page you're going to cut on this dotted line. Okay, cut on the dotted line, and when you get done with that, then we're going to talk about this. Okay, cut them on the dotted line, put them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 on top, 8 on the bottom, and then staple that corner, that top left-hand corner, or tape them together, whatever you need to do, it's fine. Okay, so you can flip through the book. Okay, get that done. Pause the video, please. I'm going to pause too while I do it, and you pause and you get it done. All right, we're ready to go again, okay? I've cut out my pages. I've put them in order by number. I stapled my top left-hand corner, okay? Maybe you had to tape them. Maybe you don't have either of those. That's okay. Just make sure we work through them in order, and then maybe you can get someone to help you paper clip them or staple them later, okay? All right, so you can put your name on it. We're not turning this in, so don't worry about it, but you can put your name on it. That won't hurt anything, okay? So we talked about the Ice Age, all right? So let's go through these. Number 1, we see that picture with falling rain. There's the ocean. The fountains of the great deep are pouring out. There's the ocean floor. We see a great picture there, okay? And it says the blank of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of heaven were opened. What was it? The blank of the great deep. Fountains, the fountains. And it's right there on your page for you, spelled. And so you can spell fountains correctly, I'm sure. Fountains. Okay. All right, nice big word there. Okay, so later we're going to color this page, not right now, but I want you to think about, what are you going to color that ocean? You know, the ocean's kind of greenish blue, so let's color it a kind of greenish blue. The sky, it's raining, so it might be gray. The falling rain and the fountains of the great deep are going to be blue. Okay, and the ocean floor is going to be brown. Okay, so let's color that really nicely. Okay, all right, let's go to number 2. Oh, we've got a picture of the ark. It reminds us that Noah was on the ark. Remember, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Those things burst forth. We talked about how the plates of the earth and the crust of the earth was still shifting. And so it wasn't safe to come off the ark. The waters hadn't receded. Okay. After the blank ended, the waters began to recede. What ended? What had ended? Oh, the flood. We're going to use the word flood, because God wasn't actively flooding the earth anymore. The rain had stopped, okay? But the ark was still floating around, okay? There was no place for the ark to rest yet, okay? After the flood ended, the waters began to recede. Color that picture nicely. A nice brown ark. Color the skies blue, okay? We're beginning to see white clouds and a blue sky, and there's ocean, there's water. You could color that kind of a bluish green, okay? Because it was like the oceans, okay? It's water covered the entire earth, so it wasn't oceans because the land wasn't separated again, but we had water over the entire earth. Okay, number 3. Turn to page number 3. Looks like this one right here. Okay, after more than one blank, the Lord commanded Noah to leave the ark. Do you remember how long he was on that ark? More than a week, more than a month. More than a year, more than 1 year. After more than 1 year, the Lord commanded Noah to leave the ark. And you can color that picture nicely. We got some green bushes in there on the side of our picture. We've got some greenery. Okay, we got the little animals coming off the ark. Okay, color that nicely when you're done. All right, number 4. Ooh, here's where it gets really interesting. The cracks and the movement of the blank led to supervolcanoes. Remember the supervolcanoes? Okay. All right. Oh, I really like that. That's really cool. Okay. And the mountains were formed. The cracks and the movement of the blank led to supervolcanoes. Oh, the crust of the earth, or the earth, the movement of the earth. So we're just going to say the earth because it's all the ground was still moving around underneath the waters. And even after the waters had receded, there were still cracks in the earth. There was movement of the earth. Okay. Earthquakes, super volcanoes. All right. And what's coming out of those super volcanoes? Lava, ash, smoke. So you might color that lava coming down like a dark fiery red maybe, and gold yellow, and the ash coming out is already kind of gray. You might color those clouds gray as well. Okay, super volcanoes. All right, page 5. The thick blank from the supervolcanoes blew into the sky and blocked out the sun, causing it to get very cold, because if we can't see the sun, it's going to get cold. Okay, so the thick blood, what's coming up from the supervolcanoes? It's all these little particles that are in the air. You get them in your fireplace after you burn a fire, or when you go camping and you have to dig these out, and you have to bury them in water. You have to make sure all of them are out. There's no coals burning, and you get what from that wood? Ashes. So we're going to say the ash. Ash. Okay, the thick ash. Okay, from the supervolcanoes blew into the sky and blocked out the sun, causing it to get very cold. Okay, so you might show that sun getting kind of blocked out. Okay, you might color it yellow, but not real super bright, and then you can color the rest of that. You know, doesn't need a lot of color, does it? Okay, let's move on to number 6. Now we're going to talk about this water cycle. Okay, the ocean water was what temperature? Was it cold or warm? Okay, it was warm. All right, the ocean water was warm. The water evaporated into the cooler air. So color that ocean kind of a greenish blue. You're showing that evaporation. Those arrows are showing the evaporation, where the water is turning into water vapor. Good, we learned that in our science. So the ocean water was warm. And I know that sounds like an O-R, but it's A-R, warm. Warm, 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 warm. W-O-R-M is worm. And it wasn't worm, it was warm. Okay, the water evaporated into the cooler air. And what happens when the water evaporates and goes up into cooler air? Well, it forms clouds, okay? And then those clouds eventually get heavy, and they have to let go of their precipitation. And one of the kinds of precipitation is rain and hail. And what was the other one we said? Lots and lots of snow. And they show those snowflakes. Lots and lots of snow fell on the earth. And when we get lots of snow over time, and it gets packed down, it turns into ice. It may melt a little bit and then turn into ice. So thick sheets of ice called glaciers began to form. Remember, we talked about there's still glaciers in many parts of our world today. Okay, we still see evidence of that. But did the glaciers cover everything? Was the whole earth covered in glaciers? Well, I wouldn't think so. No. And the Ice Age, that's kind of recent history, and we have a good history of that in our scientific evidence and what people have observed. And there was man around, and we see the pictures of what he observed. And so the snow covered the earth, but it didn't cover the whole earth. Okay, this wasn't like the flood, and it was really moved and covered a third of the earth, and a lot of those areas are still covered with ice. We have Antarctica, Greenland, okay. Iceland has a lot of glaciers, okay. We even have glaciers here in America, but they are not super huge like that, okay. They're not just, taking up such a large area that they're getting in our way. They're up high in the mountains usually, and but we still have glaciers. Giant glaciers slowly blink and covered 1/3 of the earth. I'm on page 8. Giant glaciers slowly blink and covered 1/3 of the earth. Well, glaciers are always moving. They move just a little bit, just a little tiny bit. You can't even see them moving, okay? But we know they move because they can measure that. Scientists can go and measure that. And maybe you can look that up. How do they know glaciers move? How do scientists measure the movement of glaciers? Look it up, okay? But they slowly moved. Moved is move, our action verb, and we're going to take off that silent E and add ED. Okay, so moved, M-O-V-E-D, moved, and covered 1/3 of the earth. Okay, boys and girls, so color this. Okay, you're going to color on this. All right, make it look nice. Then tomorrow, I'm looking at our lesson plans. We have a Justin and Jesse story. Okay, and I'll read that to you. Okay, we have a coloring page tomorrow. Your coloring page is going to look like this, except it's black and white. Okay, and so tomorrow after we do that, I'm going to be looking for some bug-tastic work. Okay, if you want to take a picture of this when you're all done, I'm all for it. That's totally fine. I would love to see what you've done and how creative you are in coloring all of this interesting stuff about the Ice Age. Okay, so even the Ice Age can be answered, and it's really interesting. I encourage you to go onto Answers in Genesis. It's a website run by Ken Ham, and that's where we get our Bible material. And Answers in Genesis, I think it's AIG.com, but don't take my word for it. Google that, Answers in Genesis, and get it to pull up the actual site with that Ken Ham and his organization run. And look up stuff about glaciers. They've got videos for kids. They've got all kinds of interesting things on there. They got cartoons. They have different things you can look at. And so I encourage you to get on their site and see what you can find out about glaciers on their site or the Ice Age on their site. Okay? Get on there and figure that out. All right. I love you, bugs. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.